Hey guys, just coming at you today. Want to do another installment, trying to put some locations on the map for people that are really trying to get out and possibly, encounter a Sasquatch or do some, searching or research or whatever the whole situation is. I'm just trying to put the points together on the map for you. So I have this pulled up. It's the ArcGIS. It's some of their database for Bigfoot sightings. That's how they kind of have it listed as here. You can see this in density of U.S. with biomes. It falls short. There's many more sightings that I know of, especially in New York and my region and stuff like that. But like I said, that's not really the goal. The goal is to find locations where we can get out there and in these small pinch point areas and do some good. So we're gonna look here today. I did some out west. I'm gonna head east now. So we have this huge cluster up near Ohio here, and it's kind of what I'm gonna focus on today. But I'm not really paying attention to the sightings. I just know that there's a large cluster here anyway. So what we're gonna do is grab this and we're gonna take a measurement from the corner of PA here. See if it'll work. Measurement, miles, corner of the state to the middle of this cluster that they have listed here, and it's a total of 71 miles. Okay, so we have a reference of 71 miles. Let's close that, and we're gonna come on over here, zoom this in, and we are going from here. We're going to measure roughly. There's our miles. We're going to come from the corner here out to, well, 86. Okay, let me restart that. So we're roughly there. Well, there's about 78 miles to the middle of the state. And if I go ahead and save that, just so it stays there as a reference, although, it's very rough, it's not like I'm trying to be super precise here. So what we'll focus on, we'll just call the middle here Millersburg. I should have had this just south of New Philadelphia. Probably Millersburg, that from the corner here. But what we're looking for is this corridor here that stretches, well, let's see where we're at here. Technically, this says 100, so I don't know what that is. Let me see. Well, just northwest of that, actually. So right at the PA corner here, right at the border, is kind of what I was looking at doing from there northwest, and where that break point is. Alright, so kind of what I've been doing here for a few minutes before I get more points taken care of. But that was our 70-something mile line right from the base of PA there, heading over where there was, quite a bit of traffic and sightings coming through this situation in Ohio. And basically this blue line here is up Route 7. That's the river there. And then we've got some other, here's a smaller river break off here into it, which I'm going to finish now. Alright, so I went a little farther here. So we have our 75-mile line or whatever. These four situations here that I've highlighted and gone around are water, lakes, barriers, I'm going to call them. It's a difference in topography. So when you start to look at the bigger picture, the blue is the large river all the way up and through Pittsburgh, right? So bring this down here. We've got a smaller tributary that kind of breaks that off. And what happens is you start to see like it's a cluster. You know what I mean? It looks like a mess. So you start to see this V down in here, and you've got this huge river. So when I come into this, I want to look at how are they going to get around this river, avoiding Pittsburgh, right? They're going to stick to the outskirts, and so this area right here there's East Liverpool. So I'm going to say the Brush Creek Wilderness Area. That is going to be my first key location. I'm going to look around and put a point on the map for you here. Alright, so I got a bunch drawn out here. I had to basically draw a line, Buffalo down to the Allegheny Forest here. I had to use that as my cutoff. I didn't want to keep moving east. I'm trying to, really focus on the area that we had here drawn before. So this is the Allegheny River, runs all the way down in the blue. Some of the reds are the smaller lakes and smaller tributary creeks there. The pink areas here that are circled, obviously Allegheny National Forest, and all these little sections that come down through here, these are what I call holding areas. This is where I believe that they're going to be. and yeah, like all these the small circles in the, well, I guess you would call it pink. Those are what I believe are holding areas. What I mean by holding areas is where they're going to make it to where they may hold up for a little bit of time. And I kind of like it down here. That's where I keep coming back to this. This is my first area here. I think it was the Brush Creek. I'm going to go through there and put some actual place marks. I just put that one there. Yeah, the Brush Creek Wilderness Area. Just so I could remember where it was at before I outlined it in pink. That's a good wilderness area that is just off the creek, far enough away from the major cities here where they can move north to south or to, in between these other bodies of water here that I have marked in red. So I'm going to try to stay away from the Allegheny National Forest for right now, but you wonder why there's so many sightings in Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio. It's like they're forced down through this region here. And you got to remember, most of the time they're not hanging out in Pittsburgh, so you got to find the routes that they're going to take, and you have to use the lay of the land and what they're going to do and the creeks and everything else. Their whole goal is to try to stay covered. Could they very well stay south of our line down here near Morgantown and National in the Monongahela Forest? Of course, there's tons of reports down there, but we were just focused on one little section here, south of Cleveland in Ohio, where we can maybe put some points on the map and say, hey, go there. Later on, we'll check out West Virginia, we'll check out Pennsylvania, but right now we're in this little corridor. So let me get the points on the map. All right, so I'm not fully there yet, but I've got 2 on the map so far, and then I'll check out the other areas down south here. But let me back all this out. We're still in Ohio here. So what I want you to check out is all the purple areas where they're going to hold up. And what I'm going to look at here and show you is these large areas here where they can move about and hold up near the Allegheny National Forest. There has to be an out. There has to be a way out, either east, west, north, south, or something comparable. And I'm trying to not use the rivers, the Allegheny or the Ohio. I mean, obviously they're large land breaks. So if there's a way that you can possibly get around them, coming out of the Allegheny Forest over here to your right, by West Hickory, East Hickory, if they're coming, let's say on this the pathway, they're headed southwest. Do you see the arrows? Do you see the pinks that I've got drawn? It looks like arrow tips, right? The way they're just drawn in. It's just the way the land is laid that way, and they point more to one region. So when you take a look at that, that means they're all going to come out of this region. Not all of them, but there's going to be a majority of them that come this direction heading southwest. And when they do, there's a few things. There's an obstacle here. There's a lake in their way, okay? They're not going to go over that, swim through that lake when they don't need to. So they either have to go up near Dempsey, which is possible, but it's more populated up through here. There are some farm ways and obvious ways they're going to get around it. But I'm looking for the best places that I can put some points on a map. And if they're heading south down toward the river here, the Allegheny, and they're going to slide through, I think this is the city of Franklin here. Yeah, obviously they're not going through Franklin. You got a swath of I don't know, between the 2 place points, you would call it there's people living up through there. Not that it's going to deter them, but they're going to look for the routes where they're unseen. And the two routes that I've seen right here are on 417, just outside of town. And the reason I say that is because if you follow that backwards by the Galloway Church, it kind of goes up and it breaks toward this Crosby Beach Lake. But they can come from the right side here, over near 428, over kind of like this direction, right out of here. But there's multiple places they could cross right there. So what I was trying to do is break it down to where it's a little bit tighter here, and I found the spots on 417, which kind of made sense to me. Just outside of Franklin, there's a stretch right here. There's a couple of houses, but in my best guesstimation, this would be a hot spot right here in this green triangle, or this, whatever you want to call it, right in this situation here. This one here, if they were brave enough to come down through the Galloway Church, up off of Sisal Road, not saying that they couldn't, but you could draw yourself a pathway, the way they could walk and be unimpeded to this huge tract of land. Do you get what I'm saying? So when they come out of that, they're forced to these two areas right here. And I'm telling you, if you can get some game cameras, and this is people's backyards here, right here, so this is kind of like a nighttime thing. That's 100% by the time they come crossing through there. But this one south of here, I'm really liking this area right here, because you have the river south of that, and you have Franklin south of that, and that is a true bottleneck. That is really big right here. I don't know if there's anybody out near Franklin, Ohio, that is looking for Bigfoot, but this region right here, I mean, you've got what is this called? Shingledecker's Welding. Just between there, I mean, there's a couple houses down here. I would say they'd probably cross a little bit up higher, right up through this driveway, between their driveway and that house. I bet you these people have had encounters, I almost guarantee it, on 417, just outside of Franklin, Ohio. And I wouldn't know that, but I'm just using everything that I've learned. So now that we've got those two on the map, near Franklin, Ohio, like I said, we're not going to go, east. I'm staying over here. I'm just using my skills to figure out, where I should go. So as we come into the Brush Creek Wilderness area, near Carrollton here, we kind of have what I call the no-go zone. This is where you have your V, the two roads, 39 and 43, coming together into Carrollton. And what did I tell you before? They just don't do that for some reason. I don't know why, but it's shown over and over again. Carrollton's a hub. If they're coming in through there, they're going to come through the backside somewhere, maybe near Delroy or something in this timber section. But they have, what the problem is, if they come in near Delroy, they're going to hit this large area that I mapped out. So they're almost forced right in here on the backside of that. Where is this? Sherrodsville, just east of there, to come between the lake and some of the other terrain right here. You got Atwood Lake up here, I'm guessing. I don't know what little lake this is in here. It may say it, Leesville Lake. So between Leesville and Atwood, that is a very good pinch point. If they are moving through there, which I'm not sold that they are whatsoever at all. If they are, we're going to go ahead and put a point here right now. Alright, so I'm going to go as far as saying that I don't like any of that between Leesville Lake and Atwood Lake. I'm not saying that they won't or they haven't, but I'm not confident enough to put, because it's so tight of an area. I mean, yeah, their goal is to make it down south here to southern areas where it's larger tracks. But I'm just not really liking that near Leavittsville here. I mean, maybe the name is supposed to Leavittsville. Leave it alone, right? Yeah, I'm definitely not going to put a point there. If you guys are in the area, you can check that out, but I don't like that. So now what I've drawn is, so here's like the Brush Creek Wilderness, and as they come out of there, I don't really think they're going to fight the river and come across toward Pittsburgh, so they're ultimately forced south. This has got to, near Scioto, Steubenville, that has to be a hub, and that's probably why there's tons of, I notice why there's a lot here in Ohio, because you got a lot of rivers and byways and crisscross, everything, and you got a lot of big hubs with, PA and all these other cities, and I mean, there's cities everywhere, but what I'm saying is just the way, when you really look at the terrain, the way Ohio is made up, it forces them to certain regions, and that's why there's so many sightings. So what I'm really looking at is from Brush Creek near Bergholtz, New Cumberland, Irondale, as they come out of here and have to make their way down, Egypt Valley wildlife situation here in their area. Now, when they do come down, they can break left. There's Bowerston, there's Deerfield here. It all depends what direction they're going, but they're going to run as they continue to go south. There's these 4 bodies of red that I've, water that I've outlined in red. So if they don't hit Egypt here, the only other area that I really think they would come toward would be in here near, well, I guess you would call that Gilmore. And to do that, you have to break through near Deerfield, which we'll look at, and Moorfield. So let me go ahead and do that now. Okay, so again, the pink is where they're held up. Where they come out of, the way they focus their movements, probably, I'm going to say it's probably not west toward Canton. It may be that you're going to catch stragglers, but I'm trying to focus the movement on where they would possibly go. And once you get down here along these lakes, near Scioto, Scio, I'm going to say that they moved down through there in Jewett, Ohio, and stuff right up through here, and it would make sense totally near Roswell. But it's so confined between these, bodies of water that it's really hard to put a place map or a place point on the map right in that location. I'll give you 2 down here that I'm pretty sure. Okay, so if they come through here, and they have to come through here, right off of the 334A where it runs into the 305, I would say that this would be a pinch point area right in here. Yeah, 334A, and this road is Mullaney, MALLARNEE Road by McFadden Run. I would definitely have some cameras in that location. That made a lot of sense to me. Another one down here. So if the goal for them was to make it from Brush Creek south, they would have to eventually run into the Egypt wildlife area. So I'm trying to connect the 2 dots. And out to the east here, it's kind of open, and there's some waterways by CADs. I'm going to say that they're going to be forced to come more westerly, down next to this green line here. And when they do come through this, I don't care how they got there. I don't care if they came from 42 million miles away. I'm looking for that area that it's a must come through. It's almost a given. And what I found down here is a little area near Nottingham Church off the 22. Cadiz Piedmont Road. This little section here that I have highlighted in green, if you're out there, you should have game cameras in this area running year round. Because if they're moving, north to south like I predict, more than east to west, they have to come through these areas. It's just a given. The way Ohio is laid out, I would say give it a year, and I guarantee you're going to start to catch some things. I'm going to go one more, see if I can come down toward Moundsville. There looked like a promising area down there. So, right now we've got 3 place marks that I've told you about, and 2 up here just off the Allegheny National Forest. and I'll reiterate those, so hopefully you write them down. And that is right off of the 417, I believe this was. Right, 417, just outside of Franklin, Ohio. Okay, so I didn't get down to Moundsville yet, but I will in a second. Coming out of the Egypt Valley wildlife area here, I started looking, like there's a body of water down here near Belmont, and I was figuring, how can they get from here to there, which they can near Morristown, but there's a lot going on in Morristown, so I'm subscribing to the situation that they're going to move west out of Egypt Valley, and when they do that, there's bodies of water that pinch them down, that they have to come around. And when they do that, you got the 70 just south. Will they cross a highway like that? I'm sure. So I kind of looked, to me, this would be another great area. So I guess it's off of the 108, where the 100 and the 108 meet. Looks like there's some swampy regions. There's a 343 right here. There's really no township. It doesn't give me a township right here. But the 70 is south. What did that say? Henryburg, maybe? Just north of it. Give me one second. Hendriesburg. So just north of Hendriesburg. Between the 100, the 343, and the 108, that region right there is what I call a knockdown region. If they're coming through there, that is going to be one of the best points that you can be set up in with a bunch of cameras, because it's almost like they're going to have to come by it regardless to break west to be able to cross, through Fairview and hit the larger tracts of land. All right, and last but not least, I ended up, going a little bit more south. Tried to stay near our line mark, but this is kind of how the map's laid out, and I'm saving everything on here. So not to say Western Ohio and all these other places don't have it, the Wayne National Forest and farther east, because they do, but I'm just trying to get this narrowed down. And the next place I really kept coming to would be, what is that, south or west of Moundsville. It's almost like they're going to have to come through here at some point. And there's a road here. There's also like a creek, but it's not huge, a river. This is the 148. So right off the 148, it's zigzagging all over the place near Horseshoe Bend Golf Course. So there's only like 3 spots they can really cross this road. One is just east of the 119 of the golf course here. One is a little farther south past Armstrong Cemetery here, because you got a lot of things built up and going on, and the farther east you go, the more that is kind of going on. There's some other spots, but there's like open fields, like right here where they could possibly cross. That's a lot of open field to cover. Not saying that it won't happen. I'm just going off of what I've learned. And then you're going to be at the river. So these 3 place marks here near the Horseshoe Golf Course, and then just south of it on the next bend, this is a real promising one right here. This is the one I'd kind of focus on, because there's nothing near this bend. Maybe it looks like a factory there. There's nobody really living there. This little jut out here makes sense to me. They could possibly cross, which I'm not putting a lot of stock in, but it's just near the Horseshoe Bend Golf Course. And then farther west would be over here, closer to Alledonia. But I looked how they would cross the 148 near Capitina Creek, coming down through, and ultimately probably crossing somewhere over here by the 103. Looks like there's a farm there, and then a farm there, and then a house here. So if they don't cross in that region, the only other section would be right here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pin. This was my last movement, which was right here on the 103, coming down out of that timber, because there's one thing that I've really learned. They like to cross roads timber to timber, not timber to field. And if they have to, and the only time I feel like we see them doing that is, oh, I seen one in a field. It's when they're forced. They are 100% forced into, you know, going across that field. Otherwise, it's timber to timber. So if you guys are out here near the 103, near Alledonia, reach out to me. You know, my email wnybigfoot at AOL.com. Usually I put it in some of the descriptions. But here are all the places that I would be focusing on getting cameras. And I'm literally pointing these spots out to you. I'm putting them on the map based on my criteria. You know, could I be wrong? 100%. But nobody else is doing this for you. Nobody's doing this. And I'm doing it for you. I'm taking the risk because I've learned a lot. And they say, you know, you can learn a lot from a dummy. So I'm serious about my research, and I just hope you spent the time watching this whole video. I'm sorry it's long, but I wanted to really get this across to you, and I'm trying to eventually, we're gonna, if I can do all 50 states, we're gonna start connecting the dots, man, like my travel route pathways, and see what happens. But thanks guys, I appreciate it. Leave a comment.